Okay, hey guys. Let's see here. So today I'm going to talk about driving a NEMA 23 stepper motor with a motor driver. You can see here this is the DM542A stepper driver. And let's see, what else do we have? I have an Arduino Mega. You could use a regular Arduino for this, or any kind of Arduino really. I just happen to have a Mega on hand. And let's talk about wiring first. So, with the DM542A, there's a lot of tutorials online with similar stepper motor drivers where they have the enable pins, let's see, not connected. I had to connect mine. So, if you're hooking your stepper motor driver up and you're finding that things are not working as expected, make sure you connect your enable pins. Basically, you can't tell by the wiring diagram, but I have the 5-volt enable pin running along this wire to my 5-volt rail. And then I've got my negative enable pin going along to pin, let's see, what is that, 11 on my Arduino. So those are my enable pins. Then for my directional pin, again, the direction plus 5 volts here, I have that just going to my 5-volt rail. And then my direction negative pin going to, on this yellow wire, to pin 12 on my Arduino. Sorry for the video work. And then my pulse pin, my negative pulse pin, or my step pin, that's this black wire, and that's going to pin 13 on my Arduino. And then my pulse positive, again, goes to the 5-volt rail. So if you look at this, all of the plus 5 volts here are going to a 5-volt rail, and the negative pins are all going to a pin of my choice on the Arduino. So for some reason, with my Mega, I think I've ruined pins 6, 8, and 9 because I was trying to use those earlier and it wasn't working. But as soon as I switched pins to 13, 12, and 11, everything's running smoothly. And then, of course, I've got my NEMA 23 motor here, and I've got 4 wires coming out of that going into coil A and coil B. So how you can tell that, you just Google, let's see here. Let's Google, I'm going to set the camera down for a second, and I'll show you the page. If you look on the side of your motor, you can see model 23HS9430. So I'm going to just Google 23HS9430. And you can see what pops up on my screen is a bunch of stuff. And then if I look under images, I ought to be able to find something that gives me a wiring diagram. And sure enough, I found an image that gives me the 6-wire version of the stepper motor and the 4-wire version of the stepper motor. And you can see black and green are A and C, and red and blue. So coil A, black and green, red and blue, coil B. So if you look here, I've wired that up. Red and blue go together, black and green go together. It doesn't matter necessarily which order they go together in, but you can see from this diagram there's no indication of positive or negative, just as long as they're wired together. And then of course I've got my DC minus, my ground wire just going to my ground rail, and my DC positive wire going directly to my power supply. And then on my power supply, I've got my V minus, which in this case is acting as ground, and that's running along a switch that I can turn on and off just for safety. And that ground is ultimately going to my ground rail. So everything is set up on the breadboard to either be on the ground rail or on the positive voltage, plus 5 volts. And then the only high current, high voltage wire is going straight into my motor driver. So in this case, I have a 36 volt, 10 amp power supply, which you can see right there. So NEMA 23, DM542A stepper motor driver, Arduino, it can be a Mega or Uno, whichever, and then a 36 volt, 10 amp power supply. And you can see when I switch this on, I get some turning. So the only other thing to explain here, if I turn this off, you can see these switches here.